Okay, the most important thing that you need to know about these trucks when you're contacting someone for help is the unit number. Because by the unit number, especially if you're talking to me or the PDC, the unit number tells us what chassis you have, what body you have, what air compressor you have, what oil unit you have. All that information is available to us by that unit number. If you call me and tell me your tech number or any of that stuff, that doesn't help me any as far as what you need. If you call and say, hey, I'm having air compressor problems with my truck, if you don't tell me the unit number, I don't know what air compressor you have. At the present moment, we have 5 different styles of air compressors out. So make sure that you understand when you're needing help with any of this body or that you contact us with the unit number. Everything is recorded, the body numbers are recorded, the chassis VIN's recorded. We know all that information off the unit number, so make sure that you let us know that. If you'll look in your truck, you'll have a little small toolbox. It's different in a Sprinter style because it's a smaller body. In the Silverados and Fords, it has a bigger toolbox in it. But they're small, cheap toolboxes. They're not designed for anything more than 12 to 15 pounds of weight per toolbox. So they're designed for your small hand tools. Your bigger tools, use your other compartments wisely, or in the case of a body like this that has all these, you can actually hang tools and stuff in here. You're not blocking the airflow enough by hanging tools. Don't put solid boxes up there blocking the airflow, but you can hang stuff in here and it doesn't block the airflow and it works out just fine. If you get a used truck, the first thing you need to do is ask your manager for a tool inventory list. Then you need to inventory that truck so that you can get whatever tools are broken or missing replaced so that you can use your truck efficiently and do your job efficiently by having the right tools. Same goes for your toolbox. If you have one that the toolbox drawers are messed up in, tore up, or missing, just tell your manager so you can get another toolbox to replace it with. You can pick these toolboxes up Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, Rural King, just about anywhere. Just let your manager know it needs to be replaced. In this compartment here is on this style truck, this is the 13.6 body, is the oil control system. It takes up that little bit of space right there, then you have storage space in here. You have storage space up here. This is the side of the truck that you work off of, the driver's side. Everything that you're going to need a day-to-day basis needs to be on this side. All the tools and equipment that you use day-to-day is on this side. Now there's a training video on the oil system, so I don't need to go into that. You'll see it in another video. I do want to go over the back compartment for the controls. Okay, in this control panel here, this is where the control panel will always be on any truck that has a van air system in it. It is always in the left rear compartment. I'm going to turn the compartment lights on. Maybe you can see this just a little better. For those of you that doesn't own a diesel truck or diesel vehicle, these are equipped with a block heater for the air compressor, and it also has a preheat system in it, like a glow plug on a truck does. So when you get up in the morning and start your truck up to go to your job, come back here and flip this preheat on, and by the time you get to your job 15-20 minutes later, whatever it is that takes you to get to your job site, now your block will be heated. Then when you start it, you want to cycle the glow plug 2 or 3 times depending on how bitter cold it is, and the compressor will start. This particular chassis here on the Sprinter does not need plugged in. They have an extensive glow plug system in the motors that you never need to put anti-gel in them, and you never need to plug them in. However, because of this air compressor being diesel and it's back here, it does need to run anti-gel in this through this truck. The reason being is this little fuel pump is underneath the truck, pulling the fuel out of the chassis tank up to the air compressor. So this little fuel pump is a 2.4 to 4.5 psi fuel pump, so it's not very strong. So if you don't run anti-gel in it, this fuel pump will not pump gel diesel, and your air compressor won't start. Your truck will run just fine, but your air compressor won't start. So you need to make sure that you keep anti-gel in it in the wintertime because of this fuel pump. As far as starting the generator on these, this switch, all control panels have a switch that says generator, but on this particular model, the 300 series, whether it's gas or diesel, this actually activates an electric clutch to the air compressor for the generator. This switch for the air compressor is an electric clutch just for the air compressor. On the welder, another electric clutch just for the welder. So if you're in a really cold state and you have all three of these on, even if you've run your block heater and cycled your glow plug, there's still a good chance it will not start because the oil in that air compressor is still bitter cold. The bearings in these two clutches here are bitter cold. It puts too much drag on the motor. So always make sure that these are in the off position when you try to start your unit. As far as all your lights just plug into the generator plug-in. With the generator on, your lights work. If one plug-in don't work and the other one does, it's because they have their own circuit breakers. Each one of these is not like your home. Each one of these has a circuit breaker to it. This particular model, the 300 series, will accommodate a power strip. If you use battery operated tools, you can plug in a power strip and plug in 3 or 4 or 5 starters or chargers, and it will accommodate that. The 150 air compressor will not. You cannot plug in a power strip to it. It will not accommodate it. Also on the 300s, because it's like a car, it has a thermostat, antifreeze, and radiator in it, just like your car does. It produces a lot of condensation. It does not have an air storage tank in it. It has a 4-gallon control air tank just for the operating controls for the safety system, which means that it needs to be drained 4, 5, 6 times every day. It's real simple. This valve right here is what drains that little bitty tank. When you start this air compressor and hit that switch on, it takes 2.5 seconds to reach 150 pounds of air pressure. So when you walk over here and drain this little 4-gallon tank, it takes about 2-3 seconds. So every time you come back to your truck, if you run your air compressor, drain that. Because if that water gets out of that air tank into your operating control valves, then it starts messing up the operation of the compressor and you're going to have to take it apart and clean it. So it's very valuable, very important that you drain that 5, 6, 7, 10 times a day. You walk back and forth to this truck 10, 15 times every day, it takes 3 seconds to drain it. 2 seconds to air it back up. It's worth it. It is not worth your time and effort not to do it. But because they produce so much condensation, we also put in a water separator. It's always right here. It's got a sight glass right here. This is what keeps water out of your air tools. This is important for you. This one is important for the operation of the machine. This is to keep your tools from being ruined. So make sure you keep this drained. Thirdly, we put in a water separator here past that one in the first compartment. This one is strictly for your oil system. If water gets past this into your oil valves, they'll freeze up on you and now you can't run your valves. Or if you let it go too long, it will get up into your tanks. The only way to put contamination in these tanks is if you do it. Now, old school ones are mechanical drains. That's up to you to drain. All the new ones in the last 2 years, we put automatic drains so they will drain themselves to make sure water doesn't get in them. But it's very important that you keep the water out of this system. It's real simple. You got a water separator, you got a tank drain, and you got a compressor drain. So make sure you keep that out. All right, this particular truck right here is the latest version. It's a 13'6" box. It has a new style oil filter box in it. The smaller box had the tendency to leak out and took up some floor space. If you get this same truck in an 11-foot version, you have about 1.5 feet square there for floor space. This one right here, you have about 3 foot square. And if you needed to, those 2 baskets could be removed. Just anything you take out of this truck that you don't use has an asset number on it. It needs to be put back in that truck when it leaves. That means it's assigned to that truck. It's charged to that truck. So always remember that if you don't need a tool and you need the space, it's fine to leave it out. Just make sure it gets back in that truck when that truck comes back. But it's a real simple truck. We're actually going to modify this a little bit next year. Move the hose reels to the other side of the compressor, move the compressor back here so it's a little easier for us to maintain and work on, because now you have to climb across that compressor to do your service work and stuff, and we're going to change that for you guys to make things a little better for you. Other than that, this is a standard truck. This is the 3rd year in production with this truck. I've had very little issues, very little complaints, so we're not changing much on it. One other thing that you need to be aware of, your oil pan that's under here, if you have an open top oil pan, which is the old style that we used to use, they have a tendency to fill up with water and stuff in the rain. You need to get that changed to the new style, which is an enclosed oil pan. They won't sell you an open pan anymore. You have to use the used. Just make sure you empty the oil in it before you put it away. All right. Other than that, on this side over here, the only thing new that you might not have is in this first compartment. All right, this is something that was just added in the last year or so. Some of these trucks that you get won't have this battery storage compartment. We had an issue where tech put parts inside of the batteries in the back of his truck. They fell over, arced out, caught his truck on fire. So Mr. Safety says we got to do this in every truck. If you does not have this in your truck, you probably ought to get it. It's just mud flaps bolted to the wall to keep your battery from falling into the wall. The one on the floor doesn't actually go on the floor. You put the batteries on the floor, and then you put this over the top of the batteries so that nothing can fall on them and arc them out. So it's very important that you have this.